Hey, how you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Big Frog's 4x4. You know, since this is Big Frog's 4x4 and I kind of focus on four-wheel drives, what's more four-wheel drive than a Gehl Skidsteer? We're going to change the oil in this and the other filters, and I'm going to show you how to do it. I don't know if you've ever played with a Skidsteer before, but they can be a lot of fun. But there's a lot of stuff that's packed into these things. Not nearly as bad as today's modern automobiles, but not a lot of working space in there. I know I've never changed the oil in this, so you're going to be doing it with me for the first time. Let's get started. Now there is very little room underneath these things. Although as you can see, there's not much that really gets caught underneath there either. They try to make them as smooth as possible so when you're working excavation or whatever you use them for, that things don't get up there and get stuck or cause any problems. But they were smart in here. Easy access to the drain plug. Now I don't know if I like it hanging down quite like that. Because what if you backed up into like a small rock or something? You could jam that pretty hard. I'd rather it have been up in there higher. This may have been something that somebody added later to make it easier to change the oil. I don't know. Finding information on this thing has absolutely been a nightmare. Sorry you missed that, but there was no way for me to get the camera in there and the pan, and I had to use an impact gun to get that drain cap off of that plug that somebody stuck on there. It was so stinking tight, it's ridiculous. But once you get that off, then you can come up and take your oil fill cap off, and that will let the flow of oil come out a little faster. So let's get up here. Make sure you put that oil fill cap somewhere so you don't forget about it. I have no idea the last time this oil has been changed in this machine. And judging by the way it's coming out, it's been a really, really long time. You want to do the oil filter. It's located on the right hand side of the engine, down below the battery here at the corner, and it's right down there. Now I'm going to try to reach underneath the battery and reach back there with the filter wrench and get that off. So we'll see how that goes. Alright, after a little bit of work, I was finally be able to cross-reference a part number we found online, because I couldn't read what was on the oil filter. It's basically all worn off after how many years it's been on there. I was finally able to find the Napa number for this Skidsteer engine. Now this one is slightly shorter than the original from Napa, or from the original engine, but it does thread on and it is the correct seal. Now when you're putting the oil filter on, and almost every mechanic will tell you, if the oil filter screws on up like this, pre-fill the filter with oil and oil the O-ring as well. So we're going to do that. We're able to find that this engine calls for 1540 diesel oil because it is a diesel engine. This is what the owner picked up, so this is what they found it needed. This is what it took, so this is what we're going to put in it. This Skidsteer was very hard to find anything. Parts, I couldn't even find the fan water pump belt on this thing broke. Couldn't get any information from anyone. Calling other places, they wouldn't give us any measurements off the belt. They wanted us to pay the $40 for the belt. I said, that is absolutely ridiculous. I'm not paying $40 for a tiny little 40-inch long whatever belt. So we took the old belt and we measured its width, and then took a rope around all the pulleys and measured approximate length, went down to the local parts store for lawn tractors and stuff. Found the closest belt we could and put it on. Cost me $13.50 instead of $40 for the belt they wanted at the store. And these things run at such a low RPM, it'll never break under the idle of this thing. You never want to run an engine dry, basically. So if you put a filter on, there's no oil in the filter like this, there's a chance that your oil system doesn't have a check valve to keep the oil from running back, all of it back into the pan, because something's supposed to always stay in the filter when you fire it up. So if you fire up an engine with an empty filter, you're actually going to have just a few seconds of no oil, because the oil pump has to fill the oil filter before it goes up towards the top of the engine. So you always want to make sure that you fill your filter first. That way you never have any period of time where it's a slow start. A low start on oil. Make sure you always check, make sure the old O-ring is not stuck to the bottom of the filter housing as well. Alright, I have no idea what the capacity of this oil pan is. We were guessing 5 to 6 quarts. The owner of it bought 5, because once again, there is no information for this thing online that I could find anywhere. And no one wants to give us any information, for whatever reason, when you call them. So I kind of looked at the drain pan, and it looks like it could be around 5 quarts. So we're going to start with going for like 4 or so, and including what's in the filter, and we'll check the oil stick up as we go to see how much it takes. Pull the stick out, let's see how much oil is in it. It is right at the bottom of the minimum line, so we'll add the last quart. Alright, 6 quarts, got it up to its max mark on the dipstick. And you want to be between minimum and max, it doesn't have to be all the way at max. So we're going to fire it up, let it run for a few seconds, we'll shut it back off, and we'll recheck the oil level. And there you have it, that's how you change your oil in a Gehl 4610 skid steer. I'll throw another quart in that before we start using it. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. God bless.